Just stay positive. Everything happens for a reason. Things will work out. Just look on the bright side. Hi, my name is Reverend Renee Sosanna Olson. Today we are going to talk about toxic positivity, and then we are going to do a 3 card pull from the Crossroads Oracle. So hang in there, grab your drink, and let's get started. Okay, before we get to the reading today, I wanted to talk about something that I find very strange. First of all, the 2 words together don't seem to really even go together. Toxic positivity. How can you be positive but then be toxic, right? It's a struggle. It's a struggle for me because I'm one of those people who believes that if you are being positive, then then it can't possibly be toxic. But apparently there is this new idea, and I'm saying new simply because I've recently found out about it over the last few years, and I saw some comments on one of the posts that I made about it being toxic positivity. So toxic positivity. Let's define it. Toxic positivity is the pressure to stay upbeat no matter what is happening. It's the idea that if you're spiritual enough, faithful enough, high vibing enough, that you won't feel anger, fear, or grief. Again, it goes back to those terms we talked about right at the beginning. Just trust the universe. Everything happens for a reason. God has a plan. Or, it's just stay positive and you'll get there. So there are some other ones, like I went to the web, and if you Google it, you'll find plenty of graphics that you can read that say things like, when you say to someone who's having a struggle or having a rough time, if you say, think of all you have to be thankful for, the message it sends is that you don't have the right to be unhappy, right? Um, and if you think about, here's another one, don't cry, right? When you say, oh, don't cry, don't cry. Basically the message that sends is my discomfort with emotion is more important than your right to experience or express emotion. Another one is negativity attracts negativity. Um, this comment tends to be whatever pain you're in, you cause it yourself, right? Frankly, I think that's a jump for me, because when I say something like negativity attracts negativity, it means that if you are currently being negative, this is a way to self check. I don't think it's a way to check someone else, right? You wouldn't say that to someone else who's having a hard time, right? But in this case, someone apparently said it to someone, and in my opinion, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I don't think that we should be saying those kinds of things to other people, and even to yourself, really. If you think about it, if there's something that you want to keep that self monologue in check, you could certainly do that there. Now, when we think about these terms, and I'm going to bring this into a what's happening in my little area, my little piece of the world, um, in the United States, right? The policies are shifting. Communities are targeted. They don't just feel as though they're targeted; they are targeted. The economic stress is real. The right now the culture is combative. Just you've got people shooting each other over trivial things, right? So this is a time when, you know in where we are right now, if you just tell someone to stay positive, it can come off a little bit of head in the sand type of mentality. At no point do I believe that simply reciting a prayer, burning incense, or lighting a candle is going to make a change. um, I love my little stripy candle, by the way. Anyway, um, I don't believe that, right? And I've had that. We just recently, last week, I published, work is devotion. In order to make change, you have to get up, right? You can't make change from the sidelines. You can't make change by observing, right? If you want to make change, you're going to have to get your hands dirty. So What we want to do is we want to fall into an area that is positive, right? Without going overboard, because you can go in the opposite direction. Like right now, we could look around outside and go, oh my God, the world is collapsing. Everything is horrible. Everything is awful. There's no future. What are we going to do? That Chicken Little, the sky is falling situation. And even though it may feel like at times that you're in that situation, you have to stop and not go down that road of everything is horrible. When you use words like every time, everything, everywhere, always, never, all these terms, and just through my own self-reflection, professional therapy, completing, a various assortment of counseling classes and all of those are very catastrophizing. They're words that are broad. Nothing happens every single time, right? Nothing happens always. We have to put those words into perspective. We have to bring it back in so that we can acknowledge what's happening right now. We can acknowledge it in its great, horrible state, wherever it lies. We have to acknowledge it. We have to name it, and we have to let it go, right? And when I say let it go, I don't mean, ooh, light and love, okay? What I mean is there are things that you can control. And these are, I'm trying to look for something I can use as like some sort of pivot chart or something, but there are things that you can control. There are things that are inside your circle of control. And then there are things that are outside your circle of control, right? We cannot control how other people feel. We cannot control how other people think. We can only control two things: what we say and what we do. So what I say, I'm in control of. I'm able to snap off and scream and rant, or I'm able to have a controlled, calm discussion. And that's really all we can control. Everything else is outside of our control. It's like the wind, it's like the air, it's like those are the same thing, I know. But we can't pretend that there are things that are not being negative, but we can control what we think about them. So for an example, I'm going to go back up to those words that we talked about earlier, those little sentences. So if we say something like, if we recognize that, just stay positive, whatever's happening in your life, just stay positive. I broke my leg, just stay positive. I lost my job, just stay positive. If you're using that, what you want to say instead is acknowledge, right? You want to acknowledge that struggle that's happening. So instead of saying just say positive, you could say something like, that must be really hard, right? Acknowledge that, right? Instead of saying everything happens for a reason, maybe say something like, I'm sorry that you're going through this, right? That's a way to reinforce this, or the way to give support without not recognizing that someone is having a struggle. Another one is that things will work out. Look on the bright side. Instead of saying that, you could say something like, this really sucks right now. Is there anything I can do to support you? Right? So those are just a couple of them. I have a couple of more. The don't cry, right? We talked about my discomfort with emotion is more important than your need for support. You could say something, you can cry if you want to, right? I'm here for you. And that is if you are, right? If you can't be there for them, certainly don't put yourself in that position, because that's going to eventually lead to resentment and all sorts of other, problems, communication issues. You want to be honest. You want to make sure you can be here. Think of all you have to be thankful for, right? Change it around. This must be really hard. Tell me what you're feeling right now. Right? So you can be positive and be there for someone who's in a position to where they're feeling negative and they feel as though they don't have any outlets, without falling into that realm of toxic positivity. And this isn't a denial situation, right? This isn't denial. What we're talking about here is we are shaping what our future is going to be with our words. You know, you can come in with it and be negative. You can come in with it and be strong and positive. And I think that's what we're trying to do here. And if you think about this too from a magical perspective or an intentions perspective, you know, if you look into different religious cultures, you know, hoodoo background, you know, those types of spiritual practices where, you know, cursing, avoiding curses, blessings, those kinds of things. Those are all the power of positive thinking. These are all putting that energy out there, that intention that we light our candle and this is what we want to happen. And we're visualizing that. You know, your body, it doesn't recognize the difference between when you're lying to it and when you're telling it the truth. And I say body, but I mean your whole spirit, body, mind, soul, this whole entity here. If you look in the mirror every single day and say, I hate my hair, I hate my hair, I hate my hair, you are reinforcing the fact that you hate your hair. Okay. And I mean, it should come as no surprise. That's what's happening. But if you find something positive to say about it, I like the way this curl hangs down. I like the way my hair looks when I put it up here. I like the way my hair looks whenever I scrunch it extra and I do curly girl method. All of those things will help you think better about yourself. You're just reframing that conversation so that you're not constantly, there are going to be enough people on this planet who will run you down. They will block you on Facebook. They will talk garbage about you behind your back. They will do all these things because you represent to them something that is outside of their control, right? Now, as we've already discussed, everything's outside of control, but we're here learning how to deal with it versus going behind someone's back and being attackful at them or what have you, any number of situations there. So whenever we think about, I always think about that skit where the character looks in the mirror and it says, doggone it, I'm worth it, right? And you are, you are worth it. You have to put that worth out there. You have to set that guideline and say, this is where my worth is, and I won't take anything less, right? As someone who works with Hecate specifically, and of course, I work as well with Thoth and Anubis, and in that triad, there is, you know, clarity, visuals, right? We're seeing things in the torches. There is the recording of the information, getting it all documented, and then there's the judgment. There's the point where we take our heart and we put it on the scale and weigh it against the feather of truth and see how we end up in this, where we are, where we go with our world. So as someone from that perspective, I'm not recommending blind optimism. I'm certainly not. I have had my share of days where I shut my door and I'm like, I can't take it anymore. I'm just so frustrated, right? Everyone has that. But what we have to do now is we have to take control of that and understand that it's not our role to over dramatize or to under dramatize. It's just our role to be a part of our community and to find a way to make sure that what we do, and this is what I do in my life, is make sure that the things that I do not cause harm or suffering to other people or other things really, because I mean, I mention it almost every video. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. I am a vegan, so I don't partake of eggs and milk and meat and flesh and any of those things that would come into my body and bring in that pain and abuse and harm and suffering that those animals go through before they're slaughtered. So for me, that's how I do it. I take that energy that I have and I turn it out to try and be a positive role model for others and for myself, because for a long time I wasn't. And ultimately, that's really what's important, is when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, can you say, you know, up till today, I have lived my life in a way that makes me proud, right? It makes me feel good. It makes me be positive and happy. And most of all, it doesn't harm other people or other things. So that's our chat today on, I got a little deep there, my apologies, on toxic positivity. Now we're going to do a 3-card pull from the Crossroads Oracle. What some of you may not be aware of is that I am moving out of Wix. This will be a change. I know some of you have purchased the shop things. I'm sorry, let me rephrase my thoughts here. Some of you may have purchased some of my services off of the website at Wix. I've moved it to a Canva site now. I just couldn't continue to provide financial support for Wix as a company, so I decided to move to a different provider. That provider right now is Canva. I'm very pleased with how the website looks. If you have a chance, go over and check it out. It's on hecatebremo.org. I've also re-added the membership center for the Sanctuary of Hecate Bremo. I had taken it down for a while because I was in the process of helping build the torchbearer model on the official Code of Hecate website, which is now complete. And since that's now complete, I can go back to some of my normal sanctuary activities. On the new website, you can find information about joining the Sanctuary of Hecate Bremo. You can find links to support my efforts, including monetary donations, buying one of my Oracle decks, or even purchasing a Kibera Blessing, right? Which includes a mala that's shipped out to you. So yeah, be sure to go check that out. So our first card today is Present. Hold that up for you. Now, Present, let me just make sure I'm still recording here and I'm not talking to no one. All right. It looks like we are still recording. So this card is Present. It means mindfulness, action, and awareness. How appropriate for what we've just talked about today. Absolutely one of the most appropriate cards that I think we've ever pulled in our conversation. So this card is part of the Crossroads Oracle deck, a devotional deck that I wrote for my Torchbearer project in the Covenant of Hecate. So when we pull our first card, when the Present card shows up, it's asking us to take a moment and be here. Be right where you are. Be in this moment today. What action do you need to take today? What do you need to be aware of today? What is you're missing something. Stop, sit down, breathe, and take in what's around you, because there's something that you need to pay attention to. Our next card is Hecate Daira. So there she is. And her keywords are wisdom, insight, and fertility. So in this image, you can also see that there's like a full moon at the top as well. For some reason, I link full moon to fertility and motherhood and that fullness of the belly, right? That's what it reminds me of. So when we pull this card in the second slot, we want to be thinking about this is going forward. We need to take wisdom and insight. We need to look into the future with this bright moon behind us and be able to see what's coming down the pike. There's definitely something we need to open our eyes for. These 3 cards are definitely telling us that today. And finally, our last card is Hecate Melone. And now this aspect of Hecate relates to ghosts, nightmares, and funerals. So if we're looking at this from a past, present, future type situation, of the 3 cards, depending on what your pull is, I generally pull with past, present, and future. This card is telling us that there is something hidden in the messages. This is a connection between, maybe it is a ancestor connection, because it says ghosts here, nightmares, and funerals. So this could be the ending of something, the beginning of something else, the part where we're looking at something and we need to find out exactly what we need to do in order to bring it to its natural close. So that is the 3 cards for today. I'll hold them up for you really quickly. So there they are. You can get this deck, as I mentioned, on my website at hecatebremo.org. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm happy to continue to have this discussion about toxic positivity. What do you think? What are some of the things that you find that might be toxic about some of these comments that go around? Other than that, I hope you have a glorious week this week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.